Look at us getting Dom C twice in a week. Ooh, I must have done something nice this year. That's for sure. All right, we're going to recap the Senior Bowl. Dom C was live down there. We had a live show with him this past Thursday. We'll have him on a few days later to put some final bows on this one, plus answer your Jets draft questions, which you guys can submit in the chat, whether that's on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. He'll answer some of those as well. Let's roll, baby. It's a Mock Draft Monday.
It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rodgers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Hey, what's poppin', everybody? Paul Esden Jr., baby, a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Every.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video program, also available wherever you find your podcast. I'm fired up. I'm juiced up. My favorite time of the year is the draft, and I'll admit this. So, like, when I'm working on articles and things behind the scenes this week, I was listening to the Draft Day soundtrack. You know, the movie? Yeah, I was listening to that. That's how draft amped up I am. And to get my fix, I go to Dom C every gosh darn Monday here on Boy Green Daily. Plus, you can check out his channel, Project Prospect, baby. Dom, welcome back. You landed safely. You're back.
Landed safely, sunburns kind of peeled off, and all that fun stuff. Everything is well, Paul. How are you, my friend?
Okay, well, man, I'm fired up. I love doing this with you. It's great. I'm glad that our wires crossed. Leading up into these weekly segments. This is fantastic, and I constantly see these comments, Don, which has to be a tip of the cap to you. Is that every time people see you on, they're like, "Yeah, there we go, baby, Dom C. Yeah, that's my man. He's the draft guy."
That makes me feel real good, for real.
Look at these. We're getting all these all the time, whether they're the live videos or the recorded ones after the fact. People, you are a man of the people, Dom C. So you're the people's champ. No question about it.
I try, yeah. I'll give you my address offline so you can mail me my belt if you want.
Yes, obviously, and all the royalty checks that come along. There's no question about it. So, Dom C, again, you were just at the Senior Bowl. We did some live stuff, obviously, with you on Thursday with everything that was going on. But is there any, before we get to, if it's Jet-centric, I guess that just works, but do you have any major Senior Bowl takeaways from being there live and comparing what you saw live to what you saw on tape?
Yeah, probably for two guys in particular. One very, very good, and one not so much. Actually, I'll say four.
Okay.
The guys that really there's two guys that really stood out to me and impressed me. There was tons of them. I shouldn't say that, but
yeah,
we're talking Jet-centric, and we're talking about that offensive line and that tackle spot in particular. Christian Jones from Texas. He's a guy who I don't think, and I went back and looked at my notes and I tried cutting up every single one-on-one rep that he took all week long. I don't think there was a single rep that he lost. And not only did he win them, he won them in dominating fashion. He has super length. He's super quick with his footwork. But what impressed me most was how well he moved. There was a guy that I liked on tape. But I mean, it's not going to lie. Every time I watched Texas, you kind of, your eyes get drawn to all these shiny toys they have on the outside, and Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell and Quinn Ewers and J.T. Sanders, a tight end. So that the O-line goes kind of overlooked. Now, Christian Jones is a little bit of an older prospect. He's 24 already, 6-year senior. But he made some money for himself this week. I mean, he went from probably a late day 3 guy, probably upwards to the 3rd or 4th round. And I think it's a guy that is mature enough and apt enough, both in run fits and in run sets and in pass sets that he can help pretty quickly. He's not a guy that's going to need time to develop. He's a guy who's seasoned. He has a lot of games under his belt in college. He's a guy that I really fell in love with this weekend. The second guy, well, the guy that I kind of flipped is I loved his tape, but you came in and you watched him in the Senior Bowl, and he just fell completely flat. And that was Devontae Walker, the wide receiver for UNC. I don't think he's one of the guys I think unanimously was probably the most disappointing in all of practice. The guy had true, he's got true speed. He's a flyer. He had a good season, even though it was shortened because he battled the NCAA on something. But he's a guy that a lot of people thought, was a lock in round 2 and probably could sneak into the end of round 1 in that, Baltimore, Kansas City, bottom of the first round area because of his skill set. Unfortunately, he just he flopped, man. He couldn't catch anything. He couldn't catch a cold, if he was dipped into an ice bath. It was that bad. Like, it's fine. You get open and you can run. But if you're not catching the ball, you're not catching the ball. And I think that point was hammered home to anyone who actually, gutted it through and watched the Senior Bowl. 8 times, 0 receptions. Now, although those aren't just a wide receiver drop stat, but I think there's something to be said, that the gameplay at this, on this stage matched exactly what the 3 days of practices was. And so he was a little bit disappointed. So Christian Jones and the second guy that I really thought impressed me was Patrick Paul, the left tackle from the University of Houston. Just a mammoth of a guy, 6'7", 325 pounds. On film, he was, I thought he was so. I thought he was a little stiff, and a guy that needed probably a little bit more time or seasoning, if you will. Needed to sit on the grill and marinate a little bit more, but he showed up. He showed up and he showed out in Mobile, and he's a lot quicker in person, a lot quicker against some of the nation's best, Power 5 conference pass rushers. Handled himself in both, run blocking and pass blocking very well. So Patrick Paul's another guy that I think has done some good work from 35-inch arms, 35 and a quarter inch arms. I mean, just a pterodactyl, at 6'7", standing on that thing. He's going to check off all the physical boxes. And the beautiful thing, and I got a chance to talk to him. I'll be releasing some of the interviews that I was able to do during the week. I got a chance to talk to him, and you can tell he's got the mental process down too. And now he showed that, all of it is. He checks off all the physical. He's got all the mental, and he put that all in the practical application over 3 days. A little bit slower on day 1, but everyone was trying to get back into the grind. But Patrick Paul and Christian Jones are 2 tackles that I think. Listen, Christian Jones is a guy that probably can be there, in round 3. Patrick Paul's probably a guy you're going to look at if for some reason you trade down in the first round. I'm not suggesting that Joe Douglas does that, but if that's what were to happen, that's a guy. He's that next tier of tackles that I think could hear his name in day 1. At worst, top 50.
All right, let me do a quick follow-up. You said you're going to be dropping some of those interviews. Is that on Twitter? Is that on the Project Prospect YouTube channel?
I'll probably put them on both. I'll probably drop them as shorts on the Project Prospect channel and link them out on Twitter. But I got a bunch of good. I got a bunch of good interviews. Patrick Paul, Talise Fuaga, Jordan Morgan, the tackle from Arizona. I got Quinyon Mitchell, the stud cornerback from Toledo, who took over the Senior Bowl. I got a bunch of them. Probably about 25, 30.
Yeah, I just want to make sure all the fans get all that juicy content, baby. So there you see it, DC_NY Jets, baby. For that on Twitter, make sure you follow. Don't know why you're not doing it already, you bastards out there. But go ahead. We'll excuse this one time if you go ahead and join late on the party. We'd appreciate that. Let me ask you this: how should we react to things like this? There was a couple of players that were supposed to be there at the Senior Bowl that ended up dropping out before the week starts, and then there was we find out, I think it was Saturday morning, Penix, yeah, he ain't playing in the game. And
Oh, there was
so there's a lot of heat on social media like that are calling some of these players out, saying like, oh boy, that looks bad that you pull out in that situation. Or some people who pulled out ahead of the week of practice, but they were going to be there. Like the injury reasons, I think people understand, but when it's some extracurricular reason, we start getting funky. What's the proper way to react to that, Tom?
the proper way to react to it is try not to make nothing of it. The reality is that the national team, the team that Jeff Ulbrich coached, the national team, I think they had 18 guys who were there practicing on Tuesday that didn't play in the game on Saturday. Now, some of them dropped out like during the week. For instance, Jackson Powers Johnson, the center from Oregon. Arguably one of the three top players, top guys in all of Mobile. He practiced 2 days. He practiced Tuesday and Wednesday. He dominated so much that, he just said, I don't even need to be here. He left. Roman Wilson, wide receiver from Michigan, did the same. Dominated for 2 days and left. Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver from Florida, dominated and left. The list goes on.
That's a common thing, John?
It's an unfortunate common thing, and as a matter of fact, if we remember a couple years ago, Jermaine Johnson did the same thing. And if you think about it, it is for us, the fans, and so on and so forth, it's like kind of a bummer. But for them, and their entourage and their scouts or their agents and whatnot, they're saying, listen, you're sky high right now. The only thing you could do by continuing to practice or continuing to play is lower that stock. So go out on top. Now, on the contrary, I don't think Michael Penix went out on top. As a matter of fact, I thought Michael Penix looked very contrarian, running a very dumbed down vanilla offense all week long. It's not. Listen, it's a 3-day install that they're not going to. You're not going to really knock the boots off of these kids. So during the practices, Michael Penix looked very average. I think he had one or two really memorable throws in my eyes. So for him to back out and not play, maybe his agent was telling him, listen, the only thing you can do is get out there and get hurt. Not worth it. Yeah, I don't know why he didn't play. At least I would have done what Bo Nix done. Go in there, suit up for a series, show them that you're football focused, and go at it.
Okay. Let me ask you, obviously, about Jeff Ulbrich. Obviously, he was down there coaching. I've heard rave reviews from national people, local people that interviewed him after, whether in the press conferences or little moments that they've seen. I read Zach Rosenblatt's piece. He had a full piece for The Athletic talking about Jeff Ulbrich's merits down there at the Senior Bowl. And I'll just ask you, Dom, either a major takeaway or a story from a practice, some inspirational message or something. What did Ulbrich show at the Senior Bowl?
Well, you know what? I don't know what he showed us. Like from my naked eye there. I don't know what he showed, but every single player on the national team that you talk to, that I talked to, I made a point in asking, and the message was consistent. Man, I would love to play for a guy like this. Man, he is a ball of energy, man. When he was done with his intro, we were all ready to run through a wall, like that. The team supported him, the team loved him, in particular, I remember specifically Max Melton, the cornerback from Rutgers, who I had a chance to talk to, and Peyton Wilson, the linebacker from NC State. Both of them talked extensively about, Coach Ulbrich and his, you could tell he just loves to play football, and he loves to coach football, and he's a likable guy, and he's a guy that you want to play football for. He has that enough of that intensity that gets you amped. And they talked about that implicitly. So that's what I got, is that he connected. Okay. He connected with the players, eye to eye. Now, listen, that could be a blessing and a curse. Like, it's great because now, he showed that he could lead men. Now the curse is we don't want him to leave the Jets and go
of course,
head job in college or something like that now. So
yeah. Let me ask you this. You make something or nothing of this, okay? So I saw this quote. So I was trying to look up Ulbrich stuff from his press conference because I didn't see it. Just
Mhm.
streamed pillar to post, the full thing from it. I assume this is from after the game.
Okay.
I didn't get to see the full thing. So I was looking for clips to try to kind of get a sense of someone who did not go to Mobile. And I saw this comment and it raised my eyebrow. I went, ooh. But I want you to tell me whether I should be saying ooh or not to this. So,
Okay.
Dom, you have your radar here. So here it was. Let me give the shout out to MTMV Sports. They asked Ulbrich about Michael Penix, and at the end of his answer at the Senior Bowl, he says, "quote He's a guy that I don't want to have to play against." And some people, saw that little quote there, went, "Ooh, does that mean what I think it means?" I know you just said that, it's kind of been here and there at some of the Senior Bowl practices, but is that making something or nothing to that? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't think I would read too much into it personally. I know
That looked spicy for a second there.
Listen,
I saw that. Went, ooh.
It's going to be spicy. And listen, I guess if Michael Penix was there in the third round, he's got to be part of the discussion at
Sure.
69 or 70 where we're picking.
Mhm.
I don't think that's outlandish. I mean, I know people
That's
have
what I've been whispering. That's what I've been hearing. A lot of people keep saying first round, but there could be a little slip and slide. And if he's there in the third round,
well, I've said it the whole time. I don't have a first round grade on him. I thought the big mark was going to be the fact that he's a 24-year-old quarterback coming off, 3 major injuries. Not coming off, he stayed healthy last year, absolutely, but he's got a checkered injury past.
It's on his resume, yeah.
And at a 24-year-old quarterback who's not he's not a statue. He's not Tom Brady, but he's also not the most mobile. Being 24, kind of limited ceiling, kind of injury history. I didn't see first round in his fit. Now I could see him maybe even slipping a little bit lower. Somebody will probably pounce in the second round, to be honest. But,
probably. Yeah.
If he was there in the 70s, you got to have that discussion. But I wouldn't wait too much on that. Coach Ulbrich, just to wet your whistle a little here, Paul, in regards to that Michael Penix clip. He did also say that he loves Talise Fuaga. He made a mention specifically by name. Is that kid's a player? I love that kid. And then somebody asked, I think it was Anton Staley when we were in the media. They got a media day where they literally wheel these guys in like cattle in the middle of this big banquet room, and all the media just goes and plucks and says, "Hey, you come over here. You talk to me." And I think Antoine Staley was talking to Fuaga. They had some of the guys on podiums so everyone could come around and Antoine Staley, shout out Antoine. Nice guy. Got to meet with him and talk with him, in
he's
depth
this week. He's a great dude. I've
never really had a chance, but he was wonderful. And I think he asked, I could be wrong, but I think he asked Fuaga something jet centric, and he said it would be his dream to protect for Aaron Rodgers.
Whoa, okay.
It's a little spicy, little nugget.
See, I'm going to be honest.
And I'm not making that up because you can go search that, people.
Yeah, I will. And Dom, you're getting this show, baby. I am interested in the spicy nuggets, the little things that you can stoke, a little poker you're stoking the flames with. I'm like, ooh, yeah. I saw the Penix. I'm like, tasty. The Fuaga stuff, okay. Your dream, pal. We can kind of, we can rally around those kind of clips. So that's always juicy. It's always juicy. All right, let me throw in this one question here. Now, I'm probably going to have to rephrase it, but Nolan Rich sent this in over Twitter DMs. Again, guys, we don't have our forum link working right now, so you can send them in however you want to. Any Jets draft questions, feel free to dive into the comments with those. I'll try to get to as many as we can before we get Tom C out of here. This one's from Nolan Rich. He says, who is an undraftable player for the Jets? And I will kind of rephrase this. Who is a player that maybe you've seen linked or talked about to the Jets, or is a position of need that you don't want them to draft for one reason or another, and you can explain yourself?
I'll give you 2. I'll give you one name that probably is a little bit more popular, and then one that might be a popular name. So I'll give you 2. I'll make it simple instead of explaining myself. The one guy that I don't think that that I think that the Jets should pass over, considering our situation, and I don't want to make this, sound discrediting to to the player, because I think he's a good player. I just think he's got a lot of development to do. Is the tackle out of BYU, Kingsley Suamatea. He's a guy that, had some discussions around that late round 1, early round 2 area at his peak. I watched him this week, and he's young. He's 21, and you can tell the way he moves in space. Super athletic, super high ceiling. I just don't think he's the problem with him is that he's very raw. He's a guy that's going to need a veteran presence to sit behind and learn, kind of like think of Philadelphia Eagles and what they did with like Cam Jurgens, their center, how he just kind of sit and marinated behind Jason Kelsey. So when, Jason rides off in the sunset, boom, it's an easy transition. Or, he sat there and he played a different position until Jason was gone. Kingsley Suamatea, like I said, I love the athletic ability but the guy is a hold waiting to happen. He needs major work with his upper body, his hands, his hand placement, his punch. He's very, very raw. So that's a guy I'd probably shy away for us because we need tackles that might have to go in there and play sooner rather than later. And B, we don't have that veteran presence on the outside that can kind of help mold and groom a young raw guy like that. If we go and snag a grizzled veteran from free agency, that's a different story. You want to take another project and kind of let him sit there and groom, that's fine. The second guy, I think, and I'm not saying he was linked to the Jets, but I'll say this: the idea has been linked around to the Jets of a late round quarterback. Mm-hmm. And the late round quarterback that I want nothing to do with after this week is probably the quarterback out of Tennessee, Joe Milton. Just disappointing. Big arm, yes, he can throw it 75 yards flat-footed, but definitely short arm, definitely had issues processing, definitely showed major accuracy issues. The way he just ran an offense just looked very choppy at best. Again, 3 days of practice after not playing for a while could be something into it, but he was not a guy that I was a fan. Outside of Devontae Walker, I don't think there's anyone that hurt their stock more on the offensive side of the ball than Joe Milton.
Wow. Oh, wow. Well, I'll also throw this one out there from your first comment. Connor Rodgers said this. He obviously spoke in a lot of different places, but I saw one of his comments on Tyler Guyton. He said, it's kind of a shame. I'm going to paraphrase what he said, but, it's kind of a shame that if the Jets trade down, he said Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma would be on their radar. But he said it's a shame that him and the Jets don't kind of align pathwise, and he basically said that if the Jets drafted Guyton and they put him out on an island and said, "Hey, go protect 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers," they'd be "quote unquote" setting him up to fail, is what he said. So he said he'd be basically better served going to a better place where he can kind of like he's not thrown immediately into the spotlight like that. He didn't say he had to rest like a Broderick Jones, but he kind of brought up those points of like, man, he would be on the radar if the Jets trade back, because that would be the thought process. Trade back, recoup the second round pick, and then pick up a secondary, offensive tackle that's not named Joe Alfashano or one of those top guys. And maybe you could still get someone else. He said that would be it in theory, but he doesn't know if it would be the perfect fit for some of those reasons. That's an interesting commentary. And
it's the same thing with Suamatea, I think. Like I said, you could tell he's a talented kid, but just needs more time, needs more. He's very, very raw. And I'm glad that Connor Rodgers said that. Not that he, but I'm glad because my thought process in regards to Tyler Guyton is the same. Like, wow, like the kid, like really wowed you on film, like it just in person. But then there was stuff that you could tell that, he's not, he's not ready to play at the next level.
And I just looked at his resume. So redshirt's his first year. The only game he started that next year was as an H-back at TCU. And then he starts 5 games the following year when he transfers to Oklahoma. And then most recently, if I read it all correctly on his bio on Oklahoma, then 9 starts at right tackle. So there is a lot of inexperience, for lack of a better word there.
He was a tight end who got big, who got strong. And figured out that was the avenue that he was going to go. Listen, he's going to be a hell of a player, but he's not, he's the farthest thing from plug and play. He's a guy that you want a good offensive line coach, a guru, if you will, to kind of mold. You got a big bowl of clay, and you can mold him and show him the path to, to turn into, Trent Williams-esque level tackle.
Wow.
I'm not comparison, but I'm saying he's got that upside. He's got that upside that he could be, down the road, he could be the one of the names, one of the best tackles in the league.
Okay, you just heard it there from Dom C. He is absolutely Trent Williams, a direct comparison. Absolutely. Love it. Yes. All right, let's get in a couple more questions in here. Johnny on YouTube. Dom C, who is the surprise player the Jets could take that had his draft stock rise? I'm assuming coming off the Senior Bowl.
I'm going to give you a name.
Okay.
Let me find my list. Let me find my...
No, feel free.
Yeah, Utah safety, Sione Vaki.
Ooh.
Okay. And no one really, he really, he had a great week. He lined up at safety. He lined up at cornerback. He lined up at tight end. He took he took snaps at wide receiver. Did a little bit of everything. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And I'm not saying that like he's some sort of gadget, but he's another guy who was mentioned by name by Jeff Ulbrich absolutely as a guy that really, really impressed him. And he said, you could just tell this kid can play football. Forget about the versatility offense defense. Like he's going to end up as a safety, as a defensive back. He's a late round guy. I think I got him landing somewhere around the 5th round. But to me, he's already got circled on my list as a guy to watch out once the Jets are in that, in that 4th, 5th, 6th area, because Coach Ulbrich coached him up. Coach Ulbrich used him by name. There's only a handful of guys that he identified to the national media by name. To me, that's the guy who I could see his stock rise for the Jets. The rest of the league might not think so highly of him, but I thought he was great. I thought he was great. Just it's less than 6 feet tall. Built like a brick shit house, if you will. 215 pounds, just a solid muscle. You know what I mean? You could tell, even though they weren't hitting, you could tell this is a guy that's going to run through you. He's built like that. So, I could see him in that Jordan Whitehead mold, of player. And, we know Ulbrich likes Whitehead. So there you go.
That's for sure.
There's your answer, Johnny.
Boom. All right. We're getting some sexy answers here. Okay. 2 questions and we're getting a Dom C out of here. And then you guys are going to have to wait till next week. All right. So Ty Rap here on YouTube. Good morning from Alaska. Oh, baby.
Wow.
Okay. Hey. Yeah. I wonder what the weather is like. Probably just cold as shit all the time. Is probably the answer when I was just going to say, hey, what's the weather like? Cold. Cold, Paul. Thank you. Thanks, Ty. All right, here's the question. Do you think we should get another offensive tackle or guard in round 4 if we go offensive tackle in the first round? And let's just kind of mix it in all together. So the Jets currently have 5 picks. They're projected to get 3 additional in compensatory picks that would come next month ahead of free agency. We'll know that for certain. So with all the Jets draft picks, let me also just kind of add on to this question here, Dom. How many offensive linemen? Is there too many offensive linemen you can take, or how many realistically could they take with potentially 8 swings here coming up in the 2024 NFL draft?
Well, I probably expect them to take multiple swings, but much to the chagrin of a lot of people a lot of Jets fans, I don't think you're going to see multiple premium picks being used. As of right now, I'm gonna classify a 1st, 2nd, 3rd as premium. I don't think.
Yeah, that's how I would categorize it as well.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna see him go offensive tackle, offensive guard, or offensive tackle. One of them could be used. One of them should be used on an offensive tackle. Ideally, that first one. But I don't think. I just think that there's other holes, and you're going to use premium positions or you're going to use premium picks for premium positions. Offensive tackle happens to be one of them. I don't know if a double dip in the water is probably in the cards. Listen, unless their board falls and there's somebody that's still there that shouldn't be, but I expect it to go some sort of offensive lineman in the first, and then wide receiver, And then in that 4th round, then you can, introduce maybe a second skill position at wide receiver, second lineman. I also think a cornerback is going to get taken. Corner. I'm
yes.
pretty
Thank you
I'm
for the
pretty
clarity on that.
yeah.
Yep.
I'm pretty confident that Joe Douglas is going to start, backfilling that pipeline because there's not a lot of guys under contract after next year.
That's correct. Both DJ Reed and Michael Carter II are both entering contract years coming up.
And Brandon Eccles.
Yeah, that's another one, right? I skipped over him, right? He was a late round draft pick, so that math adds up as well, rookie contract wise. So yes, yeah, it's a position people aren't thinking about, but there's going to have to be some key decisions made from that standpoint. That's a good call there. A good call. All right, let's finish it off on this. And it's funny because, a couple of weeks ago, you kind of set the draft world ablaze when we sent out your sizzling Brock Bowers take on social media. That got people scrambling a lot. And I got this question and I just kind of laughed. I will send it to you. Nolan Rich once again dives into the deep pool. Would you trust the Jets to get the most out of Brock Bowers? Sure, drafting him, anyone can do that, I guess, if you have the right pick and the players available. But what about getting the most out of him?
Listen, you know what? My judgment on our offensive coaching staff is still yet to be determined.
Fair.
I haven't seen him with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, so I think Aaron Rodgers would get the most out of Brock Bowers. Yeah. I think Brock Bowers is right. A player like that is right up Aaron Rodgers' wheelhouse. Outside of them being a rookie, he's got the skill sets and the wherewithal. I think that could play well and be a good, not only just your typical outlet, but a good weapon and a good blanket for Aaron Rodgers. Do I trust Nathaniel Hackett with anything yet? That's still be determined, because left to his own devices, if the first taste of Nate was a little sour.
That's right. But if you ever have taken a drink of something, I guess I'm that woman with the gift that goes.
Yeah.
So that's me. When I drink something, I'm like, oh God, wait, that couldn't have been sour, right? Oh yeah, geez, oh God, that actually was sour. Or like, oh, okay, that wasn't so bad. I overreacted on the first sip. So we just got to go back for
I'm giving it I'm being a little bit like Jets homerish or Jets stan and saying I'm going to give him another chance. I want to see the whole thing. Like you can have a pretty car, Paul. You can have a Porsche, right?
Yeah, sure.
But if it's got no fuel and can't drive, then it just looks pretty, right? Or if you try to put diesel in the engine, it's like a put stall. So I'm going to say that Aaron Rodgers is the fuel that we need for this offense, and see what happens. And
I love that.
We'll see what happens.
All right, I love that analogy. Beautiful. Well, Dom, I mean this from the bottom of our hearts. All the people in the chat that are tuning in, 85, 100 plus people in here that are kind of coming in and out. We have live shows, and then also people I know are doing things at 7:30 in the morning, so they end up watching after the fact. Either way, I want to, on behalf of them and myself, thank you for giving us exclusive insight, going inside the Senior Bowl, doing a live show. You get a lot of things going on when you're down there at the Senior Bowl, plus these weekly shows. It's been really cool for people that can't get there and to vicariously live through you as you went down to the Senior Bowl. Super cool, man.
I make that my point is to get the information out to the masses. Because, I remember when I was younger, and this was even before the age that I was ever involved in Twitter or whatnot. Like, you used to have to wait until like I got home from school, 6 p.m. ESPN Sports Center to come on to see any highlights of it. Like, that's why I want to get as much information to Jets fans out as I can, man. So thank you guys, and thank you, Paul. Appreciate you.
Of course. So everybody, if you missed it earlier and you're just joining this conversation late, DC_NY Jets. Also, it's right there, Dom C of Project Prospect, a YouTube channel where you can see all his stuff, where you don't just have to tune in once a week for his visits here. All of his exclusive interviews and one-on-ones that he had with a bunch of these players are coming out. You can check them out on Twitter. You can check them out on YouTube. So please, please, please make sure you do. And you can see even more great Dom C action that we only get once a week, or in this case, multiple times a week. So again, we did something right for Santa this year. Appreciate that here in 2024. So Dom, thanks, brother.
No problem. Can I get one more shameless plug if you don't mind, Paul?
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
I got a new show starting tonight.
Wow.
I will be co-hosting a show with Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7 on the Talking Jets channel, as I'm now part of the Talking Jets family. I will be their kind of lead NFL analyst. So me and Ryan will be doing a show every Monday night, 8 p.m. Kind of sort of similar to this. I'm assuming we're kind of just going to let it kind of organically happen, but we're going to be talking a lot of Jets and a lot of draft over the next couple weeks, because that's the focus I'm in. So if you're around,
congratulations,
thanks,
congratulations, man.
I appreciate
That's
that.
awesome. Okay.
So if you're around 8 p.m., go to Talking Jets. Me and Ryan every Monday night, and every Monday morning I start the day with Paul. Every Monday night I'll end it with with Ryan. So all is well over here.
Beautiful. That's awesome. So guys, make sure you guys check that out later this evening. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you back tomorrow morning at 7:30. Take care, everybody.